Hi, everybody. I hope you're warm wherever you are. And I'm waiting for some numbers to show up that you have hooked into me. Not seeing them yet. Oh, good. Got 9 whole people. Okay. Well, today we're going to talk about grids, which I get asked about all the time. And grids are not a quick subject, but what we're going to look at is we're going to look at the grid I originally built for in February of 2019. I've been studying stones and grids and all that stuff since 2018 after I saw them in Colorado. And so I ended up one day just deciding, well, I'm going to go ahead and bite the bullet and do it. And I built this grid. And if you can read at the top, it says that we are prosperous, healthy, and happy and live with abundance. And there's a whole little sheet underneath it that stated about that. And then the form that it's sitting on, which I will show you a blank one, was I found a bunch of grid blanks online. I actually spent $5 and bought a whole sheaf of grid forms to copy down. And the one I ended up using is, I'll show you it on my, okay, wait a minute. I'm going to show you this stuff first. How did I figure out what books, what to use, what materials to use, and things like that? And what I did is I had a couple books. I'm a big believer in books. And I had this book, and this book is by far, it's a simple, quick book. It's not expensive, and it's crystal, and it's a modern guide to crystal healing. She emphasizes more healing, but her name is Julia Van Doren, and she works at Goldie Rocks in New York. And she has kind of a crystal per page, and she has samples of what they look like, and then she has some really good explanations what the magic is about them, notes about them, and highlights what they're good for. And out of her book and several other books, this is a desert rose, which I've done a whole show on desert roses. And they're for meditation, grounding, and focus. But I took all these things. I put the stone in. I put sort of a physical description of the stone, just a quick one. And I have a giant matrix of information about crystals so I can look things up. But this is a good starter one if you're just interested in crystals. Now, I also use this book, but this book is a thick book. And it tells you everything you want to know about stones, and it says who they are and what they teach. And it's Robert Simmons is the geologist that was behind this book, and Nasha Ashian is and another person named Hazel Raven helped with this. They have some of the most gorgeous illustrations of the stones in color. It's all done in alphabetical order, and this is kind of my go-to if I really read something or I read on 2 different sources and they're kind of confusing. I can always go to this one and find an answer. And it starts with keywords, this is green calcite, which I use a lot in my grids. And it's got relaxation, emotional balance, relieves stress and resentment, and connects you to your heart, because the heart is the green chakra. And it connects to the green chakra, to the heart chakra. And there's Robert's explanation of the crystal, and then Nasha, her explanations, and they're it's just a beautifully illustrated book. I was given this by a friend, so I have absolutely no idea what the cost on it is. And then the second part, besides the crystals that are on the grid, it's how are you laying them out. And I found this incredible book online, and it's Sacred Geometry, an A to Z reference guide. And it really can help you if you're trying to understand shapes in sacred geometry, what they mean, how to work with them. It goes into Pythagoras, it goes into Plato, it goes into all the different places in history. It's got a whole section on ley lines and scientists and philosophers that have worked with the idea of uh, sacred geometry. And I just sat and read this book, and I learned so much more that gave me more information about sacred geometry, and also a lot of the symbols that are in the tarot and a lot of other things. So, and that book is Marilyn Walker, Sacred Geometry. So that would be the the books I would recommend. Okay, now I don't have a lot of room in my office, folks, so we're just going to have to kind of go with what we got. And the first thing we're going to look at is the shape. What form are you going to put it in? And in my understanding and my reading about the different sorts of grids I could have used, this one ends up, it's the grid of life because it's got 12 points around the edge of it. And if you don't understand about sacred geometry, when I do teach my course on how to build grids and how to work with this stuff, I will explain more of these things. But everything starts from a dot, and then the dot gets a second dot out, and that makes a line. And then we go from there. It just builds out into all the different shapes and forms. And this particular grid is called the grid of life. It is symbolized by 64. 64 is a really, really interesting number. There's 64s around us all over the place. Now, they are not part of sacred geometry per se, but they are part of understanding the sacred meaning of numbers. And 64, if you add 6 and 4 together, creates 10, which breaks back down to 1. So you're back to a very basic 1 form. And there's like 64 at its heart means harmony and growing as a group together. And when I said that I wanted prosperity and abundance, I wanted for a whole bunch of people. There was a whole list of people on that piece of paper that were friends of mine. There was a friend that was unemployed in Colorado who'd been looking for a while and was starting to get a little frantic that she might not be able to find something. There was a young couple that the young woman is like a second daughter to me, and they had some things going on. They had moved to Brooklyn, New York. She was getting her feet in the ground there. She needed something to stabilize her. So not all grids end up using the same numbers. If they use it, and you can follow on numerology if you followed it, but the number 4 is the stabilizing. It's where we find our base. It's where we grow from. And in this case, I didn't realize it until I was picking up all the pieces and figuring out how to put it all back together. But I'll show you again the picture of what the original grid looked like. And this is the stone. This always starts with the center. And this was the stone that I'm going to put it in now. That's the stone that was in the center. And I'm going to try to get this so better underneath. But this was the selenite tower. And I picked that one at first because it could receive energy in from all directions. It could also send energy out in all directions. And that's really kind of the feeling I wanted with this. Later, after I moved to the house I live in now, this was the stone that I put in the middle for a while. And it's a pyramid that has all the colors of the chakras in it. But I think today, since we're going to be doing a comparison to the original photograph, I'm going to put this one in the middle. So maybe it'll make it a little easier for you to follow. And like I said, I did this in February of 2019. I'd started really reading and studying intensively on crystals and sacred geometry and creating crystal grids in 2018 in the fall. And this was sort of my first time, and it wasn't following anyone's course or anything else. I just kind of used my sense. And I realized I really like grids that have a very interesting stone at the center. If you have one of my grids, you know that's true. And I wanted to use a selenite, like I said, because it's like a tower. It transmits, it's self-cleaning, it's self-clearing, so I didn't have to worry about those effects. Then the next thing I had was 4 little stones that you can see, like north, south, east, and west on this. And those were teeny tiny little amethysts. And I wanted them because I wanted it at its base to be spiritual. So I put them in like this. And that's why I placed them there. And because I wanted to bring in the essence of spirit to what we had going. And then the next stones are I always start at the middle and work out, are these 4, and they're adventurines. They're green adventurines, and they're funny looking. If you really look at them, they're actually rune stones. They were the only, at the time, adventurine was not in large supply floating around. So here they are. I'm going to bring these stones down because it's going to make me crazy not being able to find them. And it is just as chaotic when I'm building grids for y'all. I pick out the stones I'm going to do. I lay them out. I play with them. I see if they feel balanced. I see if they talk to me and say, yeah, I want to be here. I want to be part of this. And then I start working with building them. So I'm going to try to get. Okay. Now, there we go. So there's the selenite, and there's the adventure. There's the amethyst, and now I'm going to put the adventuring around. And the stones really shouldn't touch each other because the information transmits between them. They'll be fine. And then the next set of stones, and I'm sorry I can't add this to the stage and leave it up permanently, are these 4 giant chunks of pyrite, fool's gold. And the thing about fool's gold is you can use it like gold. And the fool's gold, adventuring brings in good adventures and fascinating thoughts. And the pyrite brings in abundance. It draws gold to gold, is what it says it does. And when these are really cleaned up, they're like sparkling little nuggets of gold. So I've got 4 of them. And you remember I told you 4 is a number of stabilization. And you can see now why having the grid form helps you a little bit in eyeballing where to put the stones. So you kind of keep them even. Look at that. Okay. Then I've got my pyrite in place. Now I have 4 large stones that are different types that are on the outer edge, that are the north, south, east, and west again. And I'm going to place those now because that gives me a map on where to go. And these 4 stones are all different. And they're different for very important reasons because they mean very different things. And where are they? I knew I'd do this. Here they are. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And the first one I'm going to put is called Betroidal Chaldony, and it's actually a rock that got caught while it was still in the volcanic state and froze that way. It's all lumpy. And that particular stone is a kind of hematite, which is a kind of iron, except it's red. And it balances your energy and it's grounding, and that's why I put it at the base. Then I have a beryl, which is this stone. And beryl is connects and mediates, so I put it at the crown. And beryl is also emeralds are beryl stones, and it's Beryl. And then I have black agate, and it's really mainly black. There's a little streak of brown in there, but I put in black agate, which is for grounding and to enhance creativity and courage. And most of the people I was working with are in fields that where they're creatives, and a lot of the people on the list were in creatives. And my life was going into being more creative, so I wanted more creativity. And then to the other side, this is a piece of petrified wood, and that's an acknowledgement to learn from our ancestors, so that I put behind the intention of trying to grow and connect to our ancestors. And then I put the stones that sort of gather it all together, and you'll see they're citrines. And citrines are one of the first stones I ever had was a citrine, and it was to attract people to my table. I had a big chunk of it. And from the day I started putting that on my reading table, I never had a problem about having a day that was slow for readings, let me tell you. And I put these, and I have 8 of them. Yeah, 8. So there's 2 are here. They're covering those points. And I have 2 here who are covering these points. And the citrine, like I said, attracts money and wealth, and it's golden. In the Middle Ages, you never walked into a store or a shop or a stall where people didn't have a piece of citrine somewhere in their stall to help them bring in money and possessions. Then I took little pieces of kyanite, which is a kind of blue flaky stone, and I'm not sure when it fell over, I'm not sure I got all of them back, but you put them between stones you want to connect, and it helps the connectivity and the building of the energy in the grid. Now, the first time I built a grid, so that connects the citrines together out there. And the first time I built a grid, it had said when you set it up and you start it and you energize it, and I'll show you how to do that. I use a wand. Now this wand's a very special wand. It's rutilated quartz. It's got little ribbons of gold running through it. I don't have very good cameras to show you what it looks like, but it's really an interesting wand. And when I first got it, it was just pure quartz with the little ribbons through it. Since we've gone through 2020s, the whole COVID thing, I've had a lot of little fractures show up in some of my extremely clear crystals. So that's just reacting to all the energy that's changing around. And you put up that, but I keep my wand. And then what I did was I went from the center tower to the first amethyst, 2, 3, 4. I'm asking that all the energy of these stones agrees to work with each other and to create a little generator and battery blessing all the people that were on that list with help and abundance and good feelings and creativity and the courage to live their lives and to stay in touch with their ancestral information and to move themselves forward, to learn how to grow in this world and to have new growth and new possibilities come into their life. Now, mind you, this was 2019. COVID wasn't even a thought in my mind when I was building this, and to have the courage to face and deal with the things they need to deal with, to find all the abundance and prosperity that they can. And then I start in the center and I move out. And the whole time I'm thinking about all the people and all of the energy that this particular set of stones can create for people. And it's already heated up. As soon as I started doing that, I could feel heat coming out of the center. And that's when you know that your grid's fired up. That's why I call it firing it up, because it literally fires it up. And then I always put my wand, I try to keep it somewhere near, because every once in a while I want to re-energize it. And then what else can you do with your grid? Well, at certain times I found some real green aventurine and I replaced it with these 4 with the real crystal. I mean, these are real aventurine crystal, but I wanted to put my runes back together. So I replaced those. It's still warm. It's not going out. And then the other thing that I did is I found a really pretty carnelian that sang in my hand the day that I touched it. So I put it up in a corner so I have some heart energy helping to support me. And I also was sent a piece of shungite, which is extremely powerful, and it's an incredibly powerful grounding thing. So I put it in here to ground it. And a friend of mine sent me a jade heart, and I put the jade heart in here to help with the heart and love feelings. This was, all those things were added after COVID had started, after I'd had to move it. And then I took a piece of, it's called fuchsite, and I'm totally blanking on it, but I put it in because it has a lot to do with warming our hearts and helping us understand our own health. And I put those things in there also. And they're just kind of add-ons that I chose to do. So if I build a grid for somebody and somebody wants to add something onto their grid, they're more than welcome to. And when I originally built grids, I built them like this. Just put them on the paper frame, and I would build them for people by I would do readings for them, and then we'd decide what they wanted help with, and I'd think about it, and I'd use the different forms to come up with the thing. Then they would personally meet with me here in Dallas, and they would we'd meet, and I'd show them where to put their stones, how to put them down, and then we would talk about their grid, and then they'd take a picture of it with their phone, and they'd take it home and they'd set it up wherever they wanted to put it so that they could have it for themselves. And I had some funny stories happen about that. There was one woman who had some adventurous cats, and hers was to help strengthen her breathing because she had a lot of allergy problems. And she took it home and she said, it's really working. They're not having near the allergies I was having. And then all of a sudden one day she said, well, is there like a time limit on this? And I said, I don't think so, but I don't know because I was just new to building grids. And she said, the grid didn't seem to be working. And I said, well, go look at it, talk to it, fire it up again. Well, when she got to it, the cats had gotten to it. So they kind of knocked the stones around. But she found all the stones and recreated it and put it way, way, way high up where she didn't think the cats could get to it. So that kind of gave me a feeling that there's more to this than even what I thought there was. But what confirmed for me that the grid I built for me was working was I built it on a Wednesday, and on a Thursday in the morning I woke up and I had an email from Dorothy Morgan, who at that point I did not know. I'd written her an email because I liked the way she did astrology readings, but I didn't know her as a person, and I knew just by watching a few shows, I thought she did a better job than most at explaining things. And because I was not part of her community, she had a way that she could go through, call out all the people who were new emails, and she just picked one and would offer them a free reading. That's what she did. And so I said, sure, I'll take you up on that. And then she found out I'd studied astrology, and so she wanted me to she did a progress chart for me, which is, I didn't know how to do those, and she did that for me, and we talked about it. And I thought, this grid was built to bring new and fun abundances into our lives, and that was an abundance because it's something that I really would like to have. And I was glad when I had the interpretation from her, but that it was a new abundance to me. So that's building a grid. And I'm going to be teaching a little bit more about that. I'm going to do a course on it. I'm not sure how I'm going to run it yet. So be on the lookout, because you too, well, actually right now, you too could build this at home. Let me show you another one. This was a grid I built, and it was in my bedrooms, and that's a fluorite tower, and these are fluorites all around it. And these are just out of the ground quartz points. And if you get this one, none of these stones had real big points on them, but if you get something that has a clear point, you want to point the energy out because you want the energy coming in the center of the grid and then going out into your world. And unless you have some reason that you're trying to pull some energy in, and it all depends on the intention you put behind it. And then I put all of the grids around pointing in a circle. And the reason I built this grid was I was having a lot of trouble with my asthma at the time, and this was in my bedroom. And this also was not stuck down. It was just sitting in the room. And it really worked. It really helped my breathing feel better and me to do it. But the interesting thing about this is when you put crystals on a mirror, it's reflected in the mirror. So it's reflected not just away from the center point, but it's reflected all out into the room like a dome. So that's kind of what I got to say about grids today. And I'm trying to figure out how to get you the names of the books, but I think you can find them. I think the one that I thought was most interesting to me in the long run was The Sacred Geometry by this woman, Marilyn Walker, PhD. She's a PhD from the University of Chicago, and she taught interdisciplinary religions was her topic. And then, like I said, you don't have to get this killer book, because most of the information that's in here you can actually find online if you figure out what the stone is you want to work with. But then this little book is just great, especially for those that say what crystal's good for what's in as far as healing. She's really, really good. And that's kind of all I can say about it, except there is another program I find very interesting on my phone. And I used it today because I couldn't find my original sheet that told me what stones I used in this. And I couldn't identify my petrified wood until I took a picture of it, used stone identifier, and it picked out that it was petrified wood. Stone identifier is an app you can get on your phone. Take a picture of the crystal, and it will tell you, for the most part, what it is. And trust me, there are days when you get confused and you don't remember what's what. So, all right. So now I have 6 questions left over, 5 questions left over from last week, which I'm going to answer. But if you want to have a question answered, post it in caps, because otherwise I can't identify what's what. Okay. So I'm going to take about a minute to clear my desk off so that I can do some readings. And then I want to talk to you. My tarot class starts again a week from today. And I know there's a lot of you that want to take it and it's just too expensive. Well, last session I had a lady who was taking the tarot class, and then I did a reading for her, and I think she went to Dorothy Morgan and got a reading. Anyway, she'd been thinking for a long time about moving from where she was living to another location. And she got from the readings that she got that that's what she needed to really put her time and effort into. So she was going to come. She started to take the class. And I'm going to I'll answer your question, Marcy. And so I want to make this point to you, though. She said she'd come back and finish the class. Well, now she's going to be moving and she's not sure when she can get settled down enough to do it again. And she's an intensely spiritual person. She's been like to Machu Picchu and all over the world going to spiritual centers. And she said, look, I just got the message that I should let someone, I had given her some money back for the part of the class she didn't get. So I have, instead of paying the $225, which is what's in there now, I will be able to give someone, let someone come into the class for $100. One person. Okay. So if you would like to do that, I'm going to run this the rest of the day. Email me and then put in the subject line tarot class special. And somehow or another, I'll figure out who gets it. And maybe the first one that comes in, maybe the last one, I may line them all up and just pull one randomly from the people. But you have 24 hours because I don't want this to go on forever. Okay? So, and I think you should thank Carla for being able to have the opportunity to have this class. And I would love to have you come. All you're going to need is a Rider-Waite deck and all of the information that Jeffrey and I give you. We send you PDFs every week. We also tape the class, and then we send them to you. And if anybody takes my class, remember to tell me, is it taping? Because I don't do that. And I mean, sometimes I forget. But if you take the class, you'll have all the materials. It'll be just a class like everybody else gets. You'll start with numerology and work your way through the minor arcana into the major arcana, and then all kinds of readings, different sorts of reading layouts to learn how to do. So if you're interested in that, I've got that going too. So let me go put my grid up so I don't drop it this time. Going to take 1 minute for me to put it over another one. But now you know this. The reason I tape them down when I send them to you is there's no way I could mail them when they're loose like that. Yay. I have my grid back. I'll let you know if it brings me more abundance and greater things going on. Okay. Marcy's question. Question 4. Do you have to replace or stop using the grid if it's done its purpose? Well, you can just fire it up with a new set of intentions. Sage it down, spray it with dragon's blood, whatever you want to do to to release the energy. And then you write a new list of intentions and you put that underneath. One woman, when I was doing a whole bunch of crystals, and this one woman, she said, I don't think my grid's working. So she said when she put her hand over the center, it didn't feel warm. And I said, well, I don't know for sure that it does that for everybody, but we'll keep trying. So she and I, and then we tried it. We decided that Mercury was retrograde when she fired it up. So she cleansed it off again. And she kept putting in her comments and she kept putting in her intentions, and it wasn't ever working. So she and I got together and we spent like a whole morning trying to figure out how to make her grid go. And then finally I said, well, what are your intentions? Because, it could be, if her intention is to go land on Mars, then that's probably not going to happen. So she looked in her intentions and she went, oh. And so she started reading them. And I said, well, what's happened about that? She goes, there was a problem at her job that was on there. She said, oh, yeah, that troublesome woman left last week. And then we went through the list, and 6 of the 10 things she had written out had already happened. But she was so sure because she couldn't feel the warmth that they weren't. She wasn't going back and checking her list. So there's a lot of different ways to tell whether your grid's working or not. I'll give you that much. So if your grid does, if you get kind of everything you wanted out of it, or you're content with it, but you get a new set of goals, then you can strip it down and refire it up with the new set of goals. Because it's your grid based on what my sacred geometry cards say are what's your best energy. So let's go to, okay. This is a leftover question from last week. Sherry, can I get a read, please? So I have no idea what's going on in Sherry's life, but we're going to go back to the table. I'm going to start reading for the people who I told them I'd go through and clean it out last week. Okay. And please, if you're interested in my class, you can check it out. I'm buying it on my website, crystaldirections.com, or you can get in touch with me personally. That will also work. Let's see, Sherry. And I'm feeling much better, by the way. I found out the reason I was feeling so crappy is because mountain cedar blew in with the cold winds, and I'm not a good mountain cedar person. Oh, you got big changes coming, girl. Big changes, big time changes. Where you are exactly today is you've finally figured it out and you're getting together with the right people. And as a matter of fact, there's a nice man here who's being very good to you and being very generous and emotionally supportive. But the biggest thing you've got going for you is, I think, you've had some money problems in the past and they're settled because you're going into big changes. I mean, your whole world's going to change. And you're getting rid of the people who are negative, the gaslighters that were around you. You're getting in the boat. These 2 cards are great together. They're getting into the boat and you're getting with some people that are going to help things grow. You're not going to see the growth immediately because it's going to take a little while to get it where you want it to go. And I gotta move on my bags. And then you have a young friend who's been involved with all this, and it isn't out of your spiritual life. This is out of your 3D life. It's going to make some big changes for you, and it looks really good. And without being able to talk to you about what's going on around you, that's the best I could do. So we're going to go to Madhu. How you doing, Madhu? I've actually physically spoken to Madhu on Zoom. So they're a person. I mean, you all are people, but she's someone I've actually physically seen. Oops. I've got my garden mats up bad when I have cards on it. Okay, I'm going to pull it because it's making me nuts. And the dowsing chart out. Someone wanted me to do some dowsing for them. Okay. Let's see. Message for Matt here. Working on a problem, but it's the end of things for you in what you're working on. And yep, it's the end of. You're more concerned about this problem than you should be. You've got this in hopes and fears, the Three of Swords. You've had a problem going on in your life, and you've been working on it yourself pretty diligently, but people are not being cooperative around you. There's a male who's not being cooperative around you, and it's really hurting you. I mean, you're really feeling very kind of stifled and put down right at the moment, but you are staying temperate in all this, and you are not going to lose the money you thought you were going to lose. But these are the cards that where you were when today started. And it says, you really need to bring an end to this. The world being here says, time to get this done. And it's because you haven't set a deadline. You haven't made up your mind about things. Now, those are the things that have happened so far. Now, anything that's out here, that's in the future, any of these 6 cards, that's what I love about Tarot. You can take them and turn them around. So you can say, I'm not going to be brokenhearted about this. I'm going to remain temperate. I'm not going to lose another dime on it. I'm going to call an end to that. And I'm not going to do things to make people like me. And that's where your mind needs to be made up. Now, what you do about him and his influence on you, I don't know. But this says that you're really, this card being in today says you're really at the end of it. You want it done. You want a solution. And the solution lies within you. And by you staying balanced and not playing all the games that some of these other people are playing around you, you're going to move ahead. So that's your quick reading for the day. Okay. Pixie dust. Look about a family issue. Family issues are so much fun. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to do a yes/no on the family. Can we come up with help Pixie Dust with a solution about her family? I think you've already figured it out. This shows you found a solution. And these questions are almost a week old. You're getting what you want. You've got 2 9s here, which means it's almost at the end of this. And you're a little bit hurt, a little bit depressed because it's not the way you wanted it to end up. But there is some person in your family that you're going to have to cut off for you to be whole. That's what the cards say. So I hope that helps. But yes, it's a situation you can handle on your own. And this is Empress and Sun Tarot. Can I get a reading? Yes. I think we're going to do a 10 card on where you are because I don't know who you are. Man, a lot of you folks are figuring your problems out. You didn't need to ask me. I mean, you've been fine, and you're getting what you want too. Because you decided, I'm out of here. I'm going to make complete change. God, you guys are doing the same things. It must be that time of year. Okay. I did shuffle them, honest. Your hopes and fears are you just want to move on and you want the solution to show up. And it is showing up. It's upset you and you're kind of sitting there. Your spiritual self is feeling a little bit out of sorts. And, sometimes when we're doing the new thing that we're not used to, it feels a bit uncomfortable. And I think it's just a part kind of uncomfortable we have to learn to live with. You are making the friends you need to make right now. This card reverse means you're making the friends. And it means you're leaving a lot of people behind that you had with you before. And you're moving into a very new place, into complete change. Lots of toing and froing, lots of people back and forth. It's not going to be materially, it's not going to show up as business exactly that you want. And a matter of fact, what you're going to get into in the next 3 months is not where you're going to stay, because it's not completely your set of goals. You have to get used to being the new you. So you need to turn yourself around and get to be the new you. But it's really a nice reading because it says you have a lot of stuff you're working on and you're getting a lot of answers that you didn't have before. And it's because you've allowed new people into your life. Okay, got one more card reading, and then I will go and see what happened in the chat because we're not quite done with time. May I have a reading, please? Rossi. Okay. A good check. I can't believe it. You're like the third time I pulled that card, and I am shuffling them and I am cutting them. So this is solving problems for yourself. And this got the exact same thing as the person before. So you are getting in with the people you need to be with. Why are you afraid of your own power? But you got some money coming in. Your hopes and fears. Your hope is that you can become the magician and in the positive way and live with that. Right now, what you've got going is you've solved some problems out. You're getting a whole lot of things you want. You've been between two people. There's one that's positive, that's a more word-oriented person. The other person is a more emotional person, and they may be part of what was dragging you down. But you've had a little problem. You're having a little problem right now deciding which. The way I read this card is very different than most readers, but I see you've had all these tools you've used all your life, and when it's right side up, you've picked the tool you're going to hone and become a master of. When it's upside down, you're still confused about what you should. This is like right today, what you should be doing and what you should be working on. But money is coming your direction, very plainly, money and new values, and you're going to become a much more whole person and a whole spiritual person, and you're going to be meeting all the right people. So, this guy's not a bad guy. You can probably turn him around. He's just real emotional, and I think he's trying to protect you from some of your own beliefs, which is one of those things people do, and it's so weird because it's my belief. What's the deal? Okay, let's go see what happened in the chat since I've been gone. Okay. I'm going through and finding the ones that wrote it in all caps so I can find them easily. Okay, and okay. Thank you, Mary Poppins. This is a new top I got for myself for Christmas, so I like it. So I'm going to Ingla. Okay. England's in Finland, and they're having an election like right now. Let's see. Heart or head. We're going to have one row is going to be heart and one's going to be head. And none of us can complain about cold. If Angla's in the room or Cold Toes is ever in the room, none of us get to complain about cold because they live where it's really cold. Cold Toes lives on the Alaskan frontier, and Angla lives in Finland. You'll get your invitation about the class on Saturday, Angla. Maybe that'll warm your little heart. Okay. Your heart. Your heart's a yes. And your head. Your head's a no. Your heart is because you really feel it's the best way to bring people together. It reminds you of your younger days. It just suits your whole temperament better. And it's where you feel like you can get the most from it. And the sun, right side up or upside down, is positive. So that's all yes. This one's yes if you want to be militant about it and you want to deal from your angry self, but you're really having a hard time coming to terms with your head part in the vote. And it's like, this is like a no. This is the Knight of Swords. No, don't go there. Even though your education tells you there might be more stuff for you there, your out card is they're not as prepared. They're not as prepared as they think they are. So it's your heart, kiddo. Let's see. Okay, quick show of this question. If I make a grid for financial prosperity for myself, can I add names of other people to it? Yes, that's what I did, and it works. Okay. This one. I feel like someone took advantage of me recently. Am I right? Okay. See if Candy is right about the person who took advantage of her. Yeah, you're right. And they dissembled to you, and you weren't ready for a defense about what was going on around it. You're feeling more like you need to build stronger fences around yourself. It sort of stopped a friendship. And you've got the 3 cards about building defenses for yourself. You need to do that. And it's something you're not really practiced at. So you need to listen to all sides of the conversation when you're talking to someone about whatever it was. But you're right. Okay. Oh, I need to get rid of that banner. Hide. Okay, now. Okay. Okay. I've been feeling overwhelmed about the house clearing and it selling it. What would help me feel not so overwhelmed? Get a grounding stone. Any good dark tourmaline or shungite or Let's see if I can find one from right behind me. This is really good. That's a black pyramid made out of shungite. That's real good for helping you ground and not feel overwhelmed. And also a smoky quartz like that. Smoky quartz is probably easier to find than the shungite. And most of the smoky quartz we run into is real. I've had this piece for almost 50 years, which is why it looks so battered up because it's been dragged around a bit. But just keep it. And if you can find a small piece to keep in your pocket, that would be very helpful because then you can touch it and say, help me with this. I had a client years ago who he was the only child, and his mother had 9 sisters, and somehow or another he'd become, as an adult, the arbiter of good behavior among those sisters. And he was dreading having to go home and be with the family again. And so I told him to go get a good quartz crystal. And he got just a clear quartz crystal, kind of not like this. It was actually one that had its own natural top. This one's been rounded. And it was small enough that it just fit in his pocket. And I said, whenever they start to get to you, hold on to the crystal. And he and I worked that night on him pulling himself away and realizing he has to answer for himself. And when he did that, it's like he said he didn't have to say anything to them. It's just that like the whole atmosphere would change. I said, because you changed and they knew they couldn't get to you. And they'll only keep coming and picking if they know they can get to you. So I know you went on a nice trip and you've ended up having to deal with all that stuff settling as state. So take care, sweetie. Okay. Recovery and healing from car accident. Okay, that must be Linda's problem. Thank you for making it brief. See if I'm going to do 3 months for you and see what we see in 3 months, Linda. I know I've been through that with my daughter. She was in a couple accidents, and you think you're better, and then all of a sudden one day you feel like you're not better. So yeah, you're going to be out of it within 3 months, but your problem is that right now there's so much buzzing and things going around you, and you're put in a position where you can't really control how things are happening around you, and you kind of want to get out of here. I mean, you don't want to be stuck in the situation you're in. You haven't met, and I'm seeing a physical therapist, but it's some kind of beyond the doctor, beyond the pills therapist that's going to really be the person that helps you. And your hopes and fears, I don't know if you're involved in a lawsuit about this, but you're going to be okay. There are things going on around you that you don't even know that are helping you. There's a young person who's going to help move you forward. You're going to get out of prison. This card is the opposite of this one. This one, you're going to be out of prison, and you're going to make a lot of new relationships with people out of this. So you're going to look back at it and not feel nearly as desolate. But right now, you feel very out of control, and I can understand why you would because of the problems you're having. Let's see. And with that, that's an hour, guys. Okay. Okay. I'll answer this one last question because will I get the money I needed to survive? Okay. will Lois get the money she needs to survive. It's going to be tight and it's going to be close, but you're going to get it. You're not going to get the complete transformation you're hoping out of this, but it is the end of a cycle in your world, and you've gotten rid of all the illusions and delusions that had swamped you before. You are right now meeting the people you need to help you. They're not going to be able to completely help you. You're going to have to do a little bit more, and the transition is not going to be as complete as you need. But this is saying yes, you're going to get the money, or you're going to get some help to help you survive. And with that, it is 1 hour and 1 minute that I've been on, and I would, I hope all of you stay warm. I'm not sure if I'm going to be back this Thursday or not. I have to look at my calendar. If I am, I'll send you a notice, because I got Adam and I reconnected, and I understand what happened to him, why he couldn't be here last Tuesday. And personal things come up, readers do have a personal life beyond just answering questions. And so he really liked the idea of people giving their birth dates and the year, and so he can kind of give you an idea of what's going on around you. He was very pleased that had worked so well. So he should be here, I believe. I'm going to look. I can look really fast on my calendar and see if it's Thursday or Tuesday. Okay, I'm getting there, guys. I promise. Yeah, I think I'm going to talk to him about this Thursday. So I'll let you know. And if not, it'll be the next Tuesday. But if you want to take the tarot class at a reduced rate, you can sign up for the tarot class special. It's one class, one person. I will tell you who gets it. And bless you all. I know it's a difficult time of the year, and we're all going to get out of this alive and be fine. And with that, I hope sending you blessings. Goodbye.